to another video, The Nameless Things. Today we're taking a look at the hardcover edition of Daredevil Cold Day in Hell. This is a storyline that's written by Soule and Steve McNiven, and these are the creators who had initially collaborated on Death of Wolverine. They reunited to make this story back in 2025. It's just a 3-issue short story, but it is a really good read, guys. The basic premise of this plot is about it's set in a world where Daredevil has lost his powers and he's now become old, but due to some situations, he regains his powers and becomes Daredevil again. And using these powers that he's now got in his old age, he's trying to figure out what caused him to get his powers back. That's the basic plot of this series, guys. It's kind of like Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns. This hardbound issue that you see in front of you just released a few days back, and this is retailing for about $20 in US. I don't know if you can see here, but it's got a beautiful spot varnish over here with the old Matt Murdock over here, the Daredevil mask all stitched up behind here. I love this. It is a great artwork. My only complaint is I really wish they had alternate covers, because with this being in white, there is a chance that it can get dirty real quick, and if it does get dirty, it's going to stand out a lot. Take a look at the side over here. It says Daredevil Cold Day in Hell with the classic Daredevil logo over here, and you have the creators. And this is also spot varnished over here as well, as you can see. And you've got some critical claims over here of the story, and you've got a brief about the story and the creators and how it came to be. Opening up the book, you see here you have this first black page over here, and then it says Marvel Comics Presents, and then you have Daredevil Cold Day in Hell. So this artwork here is basically the one that you see on the cover over here, but this is just all red. This looks like some artwork that Muse would do. So you have the creators, you have Soule and Steve McNiven over here, and all the other people who have worked on these 3 issues. And this starts in the future with Daredevil visiting the grave, and he's sharing his story where he meets his friends, and it turns out that he's actually talking at the grave of Wilson Fisk. So apparently they don't go into great detail, but they just tell that there was an incident on a war where most of the superheroes lost all their abilities. And it's been many years into the future, and Matt Murdock has now kind of become like a priest. He even gives up becoming a lawyer. He just becomes a priest who runs a local shelter at Hell's Kitchen. And things have totally changed at what used to be Hell's Kitchen before to what it is now. And that's when there's this big explosion with all the radioactive materials that starts giving Matt Murdock his abilities back. He starts able to sense things with his hearing and with his smell again, and initially it's like too much of an overload for him, but with all his practice that he had years ago, he tries to calm down and tries to zone in and focus in on what's happening, and he tries to help the people around the blast who are injured. And as he helps people, he hears heartbeat down below, and he finds that it is old man Steve Rogers, basically an old Captain America, holding the rubble from falling onto this girl. And he tells Matt Murdock that there's a lot going on over here, there's a lot of funny business, and this girl is very important and you have to save her. And so Matt Murdock first takes the girl to safety and then tries to get back to save Steve, but he is too late and Steve Rogers dies. Then he sees the people who were responsible for the explosion and starts chasing them, and he comes to the conclusion that he was given his powers back again for a reason, and decides to utilize it to find out who caused this explosion, what was the reason behind it. And on the other side, we get a look at the guy who's orchestrating this whole thing, and we don't know at this point who exactly this is, but we just know that this is the guy who caused the explosion. And we see him that he's torturing Frank Castle over here in a very horrible state over here. And Matt Murdock dons his costume again and becomes Daredevil. So that was pretty much the look into the first issue, guys. I'm not going to go into great detail about the story. I would definitely recommend that you check it out. There's only 2 other issues, so it's not going to be extremely long for you to check out. But it is very good read, like I said in the beginning. And the artwork definitely feels like as if it's inspired from a lot of indie comic books. And while I'm not particularly a big fan of this art style, I think for this particular story, it does give a nice set to the tone. And like I said, it all depends on the content. If the content is good, even the art style can't really be a bother because you're really enjoying this read. And all through along this series, you're going to see that Daredevil is going through this whole thought process, questioning himself as to why he got these powers again after all these years, and that it had to be for a reason. And throughout the story, you'll see that he realizes the fact that this powers that he has is temporary and it will fade away after a while, so he has to act super fast and figure out what's going on. And another thing, this story is pretty bloody, and this is definitely for a mature audience. And for young kids who are just getting into comics, I would not recommend this. You have to be a little bit mature to read this issues, guys. So these are some look at the alternate covers and variant covers for the 3 issues that came out, guys, and some of them have some amazing artwork, as you can see over here, by different artists. This is a Frank Miller artwork, and I've seen a lot of like mixed reviews about Frank Miller's artwork in recent times. Like in recent times, a lot of people say that Frank Miller should just stop drawing because he's not that good at drawing anymore. And there are a lot of people who don't like Frank Miller's artwork, and there are a lot who like it. So I personally don't know. I think there are just sometimes that he makes a good artwork. I don't think he's very consistent with his artwork. This Delato cover of issue 2 is amazing and sick, guys, and I have the single issue of that, and I'm going to be taking this for the signing that's happening at Forbidden Planet on 12th March with Charles Soule coming that day, and I'll be getting this assigned as well during that day. And you have this letter from the editorial from Nick, who talked about how they danced around the story for quite a while. It was supposed to come out before the pandemic, but after the delays due to COVID-19, it finally came out in 2025. And you have this draft pitch of Charles Soule talking about the pages and how he wants to lay the story forward. And you also have some talk with Steve, and as he talks about the process of drawing the panels and the pages in each issue, guys. So that was just a quick overlook into this hardcover edition of Daredevil Cold Day in Hell, guys. And coincidentally, I am reading this story as it is pretty cold outside right now. And I got this book from Forbidden Planets, and it should be available in retail stores and in comic book shops right now. And I would definitely recommend that you pick this up and read it. It's just a 3-issue short story. It's very well written and very engaging, and it definitely feels very biblical towards the end, as Matt Murdock is constantly questioning his purpose and the purpose of his powers returning during his old age right now. The best thing that I feel about this story is that you don't need a lot of backstory to catch up with what's going on right now. It is subtly hinted as to what had happened that led to whatever the current state of Matt Murdock and the world that he's in right now. But like I said, the best thing is you don't need to have too much of knowledge prior to this to know what's going on, and that makes it so much more easy and convenient while reading this story alone. And this story alone, when you read it, it does not hamper the experience at all. If I were to rate this series, I would definitely give it a 9 on 10. Like I would give this a 10 on 10. The only reason I'm giving it a 9 on 10 is because I personally am not a big fan of this art style. So for that reasons alone, I'm giving it a 9 on 10. But otherwise, I think this would be a 10 on 10 for many people who read this. Let me know your thoughts about this series in the comments below, and I will catch you guys next time.